Mexico's president says U.S. President Joe Biden plans to launch a multi-billion-dollar aid program in Central America. Cyclone Eloise leaves trail of destruction in Mozambique's second largest city. And protests continue in Tunisia as COVID-19 batters the economy. Hello and welcome to teleSUR. I'm Doris Polo in Quito, Ecuador, and this is From the South. Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador says his U.S. counterpart Joe Biden informed him of plans to launch a $4 billion aid program for Central American countries. AMLO, who spoke with President Biden by phone on Friday, said the two discussed immigration and the need to address the root causes of why people migrate.
U.S. President Joe Biden told me that they will allocate $4 billion to support the three Central American countries mentioned like Honduras, El Salvador, and Guatemala. I thanked him for his decision to carry out an immigration policy that includes recognizing United States citizenship to millions of Mexicans who live and work in the United States.
In Brazil, hundreds of people have driven through Rio de Janeiro to demand the impeachment of President Jair Bolsonaro over his handling of the coronavirus pandemic. Protesters blame President Bolsonaro for the resurgence in cases that's seen the death toll surpass 400,000, the second highest in the world. People are also accusing the federal government of mismanagement in the import and distribution of vaccines and are condemning them for the oxygen crisis that has affected patients' treatment in the Amazonian capital city of Manaus. Similar protests took place in several major cities across the country.
There was no oxygen. Patients had to receive morphine to not feel losing their breath, but there was no shortage of chloroquine. That's why we are here today, a movement of political renovation, on a united front, with people that think differently, demanding the impeachment of Jair Bolsonaro.
The country is saying that with Bolsonaro we can't have health or vaccines. Only by getting Bolsonaro out of the government will we be able to ask for basic things.
Moving on, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro has said that his government is willing to turn a new page in its relations with the United States based on dialogue and mutual respect.
I have already stated that the Bolivarian government and the Bolivarian forces, who have political power in Venezuela, in a democratic and constitutional way, are willing to walk a new path of relations with the Joe Biden government on the basis of mutual respect, dialogue, communication, and understanding on issues of mutual interest. 2 years ago, we reacted to Trump's coup interventionism. Today we say, Venezuela, this 21st century Bolivarian and revolutionary Venezuela is ready to turn the page and build new paths of respect, dialogue, and diplomatic communication with the new U.S. government.
Citizens will be heading to the polls in Trinidad's sister island Monday to vote for 12 representatives of the Tobago House of Assembly. The ruling People's National Movement, or PNM, currently holds 10 of the electoral districts, while the Progressive Democratic Patriots has the other 2. Both parties are contesting all districts. Meanwhile, by-elections are also taking place in Trinidad tomorrow, following the August 10th polls, which created openings for 5 councillors. The main political parties, the PNM and opposition United National Congress, are vying for all posts. One independent candidate is also challenging a swing seat. The University of the West Indies is investigating reports of the production of fake undergraduate and postgraduate degrees, which appear to be issued by the institution. The scheme is reportedly taking place in Jamaica, where the Mona campus is located. In light of the development, the university assured that all of its certificates have security features which help to guarantee authenticity. Furthermore, it urged employers and other educational facilities that have concerns about the legitimacy of the documents to contact the examination section for verification or report the matter to the fraud squad of the Jamaica Constabulary Force.
Otherwise known as SAS.
We'll take a short break now. Join us in a few. Welcome back. Severe winds and heavy rains wrecked thousands of buildings, ruined crops, and displaced almost 7,000 people in Mozambique over the weekend, officials said in their first detailed report on the disaster. Tropical Cyclone Eloise hit Mozambique's Sofala coastal province on Saturday morning before weakening and heading inland to dump rain on Zimbabwe, Eswatini, formerly known as Swaziland, and South Africa. Authorities initially said Eloise had only caused minor damage in Mozambique's port city of Beira, but that it was too early to gauge the full extent of the damage across the rest of the region. The Central African Republic has implemented a state of emergency supposedly to help crack down on armed groups that have been trying to overrun the capital for weeks. The army, backed by UN, Russian and Rwandan troops, has been battling rebels that are seeking to overturn a December 27th vote in which President Faustin Archange Touadera was declared the winner. The state of emergency, which will last 15 days, lets the authorities fast-track arrests by allowing the military to detain suspects without going through a prosecutor. On Thursday, the head of the UN mission to the country called on the Security Council to substantially increase the number of troops to respond to a surge in armed attacks. Hundreds of demonstrators have taken to the streets of Tunisian cities to protest police repression, corruption and poverty. This follows several nights of unrest marked by clashes and arrests. Saturday's protests come as the North African nation struggles to stem the coronavirus pandemic, which has crippled the economy and threatened to overwhelm hospitals. The government on Saturday extended a nighttime curfew from 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. and banned gatherings until February 14th.
Because 10 years ago, there was the greatest theft of the revolution from the Tunisians and their demands committed by the Islamists.
We want to build a new consciousness, not the one they are financing through TV channels. We won't allow that anymore. It is over. We are fed up with it. We can't take it anymore. Basta.
Staying in Africa, Libya's warring factions have agreed to start a candidacy process for key institutional appointments towards ending nearly a decade of conflict after a new round of talks in Morocco. The process, set to run until February 2nd, aims to quickly fill several strategic posts in order to facilitate collaboration with an interim executive body set to be elected next week in Geneva. The positions would include the heads of the Central Bank, Electoral Commission, Anti-Corruption Commission, Supreme Court, and Administrative Control Authority, as well as the Attorney General. The parties also agreed to form working groups to deal with the candidacy process for the posts, which have long been points of contention between the rival administrations.
The teams from the House of Representatives and the state met for 2 days on January 22, 23, 2021 in Bosnica, on the outskirts of the capital Rabat. During this meeting, it was reviewed what had been previously approved in Article 15 of the Libyan Political Agreement, signed in Skhirat on December 17, 2015. After a constructive dialogue, it was agreed to form and appoint sub-working groups to take procedural measures concerning the appointments of the following sovereign posts.
Now, Zambia has been allocated 8.7 million doses of 270 million COVID-19 vaccines secured this month by the African Union. The COVID-19 African Vaccine Acquisition Task Team, AVAT, was created by the continental body in August 2020 to ensure that the African continent will be able to secure sufficient vaccine doses to achieve herd immunity. The initiative aims to pool financial resources needed to achieve the continent's COVID-19 vaccination strategy, which targets immunizing a minimum of 60% of Africa's population. Egypt has launched a vaccination campaign against the coronavirus, with the first shots given to healthcare workers. The country's health minister, Hala Zayed, said that they would prioritize vaccinating healthcare workers in 40 hospitals that are designated to treat COVID-19 patients. The next phase of the campaign would see the elderly and those suffering from chronic diseases get vaccinated. The government started the campaign with a vaccine developed by Chinese state-owned pharmaceutical giant Sinopharm, but it has also negotiated for 2 other vaccines, one from AstraZeneca and another from Pfizer.
I announced the launch of Egypt's national COVID-19 vaccination campaign from Abu Khalifa Hospital, and as we said before, the campaign will start with the vaccination of the medical staff who are on the front lines. Every vaccine shot or shipment we will receive will be available for people, and in the next few days we will be receiving more shipments from other companies, plus other shipments from Sinopharm, so we will be expanding our vaccination process.
Shifting gears now, Iraqi security forces have implemented strict security measures in Baghdad following Thursday's twin suicide bombings. The Iraqi government has deployed security forces on the streets, main squares and markets of Baghdad, in addition to vehicle checkpoints on the roads. Thursday's bomb attack killed at least 32 people and wounded dozens more at a busy market in the capital city. It was the first mass casualty in years.
The instruction given by the chief commander of the armed forces during his meeting with security ministers and commanders yesterday was very important. He supervised himself the security and intelligence plans. He took some security precautions and measures that contribute to the increase of security and intelligence awareness, as well as to many other missions such as the reconstruction of plans in capital Baghdad, re-coordination of forces, intensification of security and intelligence efforts, and working on the prevention of such acts, especially in marketplaces where many shoppers crowded.
With that, we're taking one last break. Don't go away. Welcome back. Portugal has voted in a presidential election amidst a lockdown as a result of the pandemic. The centre-right incumbent candidate Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa is strongly favoured to earn a second 5-year term as a devastating COVID-19 surge grips the country. Polls give de Sousa 58% of the first round, far ahead of socialist challenger Ana Gomes and far-right populist André Ventura on 15% and 10% each. The head of state in Portugal has no legislative powers, but has the authority to dissolve parliament and call fresh elections, a pivotal constitutional role with a minority government in power.
Regardless of the pandemic, period, one needs to vote regardless of the pandemic. Or rather, one should vote especially because of the pandemic. That's it.
We must keep the rules so that democracy doesn't fail. Unity is very important at a time like this. No matter if you are from the left, from the right, unity is more important, and peace. We all need peace because it is very serious what we are facing.
Now, thousands of people in France have taken to the streets in the capital, Paris, to protest against looming job cuts. Demonstrators, including members of the Yellow Vest movement, labor unions and political parties, blame the government for allowing companies to retrench people amid the pandemic. They also denounced low salaries and poor working conditions. Staying in Europe, the sharp increase in COVID-19 cases in Spain is straining hospitals and affecting frontline workers' mental health. In Barcelona's Hospital del Mar, the number of COVID-19 patients requiring critical care has more than doubled since the beginning of the year. According to a study released by the hospital this month on the impact of the virus on health workers across Spain, shows that more than 28% of the workers have suffered from depression during the pandemic. The figure is 6 times higher than before. The Dutch government has implemented a nightly curfew, the first such restriction since World War II, to curb coronavirus infections. The curfew is effective between 9 p.m. and 5 a.m. and during these hours, only people with pressing needs can leave their homes. Exceptions include medical emergencies, people who need to be outdoors to carry out essential jobs, and walking of pets on a leash. Violators can be fined over $100. The government has also imposed a ban on flights from South Africa, Britain, and all of South America, a move which is largely intended to target new infectious variants of the disease. And people protesting on the first night of the curfew torched a coronavirus testing facility and threw fireworks at police in a Dutch fishing village. This video from the village of Urk, 80 kilometers northeast of Amsterdam, showed people breaking into the testing facility near the village's harbor before it was set on fire. Police said Sunday that they fined more than 3,600 people nationwide for breaching the curfew that runs from 9 p.m. until 4:30 a.m. and arrested 25 for vandalism and violence. New Zealand's Ministry of Health is investigating a positive COVID-19 test result in a person who was discharged from a managed isolation facility. The country has reported 2,283 coronavirus cases and 25 deaths since the start of the pandemic.
Received information from the Ministry of Health about a person in the community who has tested positive for COVID-19 after they have left our managed isolation facilities. This afternoon, I've been meeting with the Director General of Health, Dr. Bloomfield, and a number of the other health officials to discuss the situation. Health's incident management team has been stood up and is now working on the case. The case is a 56-year-old woman who has recently been through isolation at the Pullman Hotel in Auckland after returning from Europe. She tested negative twice during her stay and was released following that. We don't yet know the origin or the strain of the infection. It's important not to speculate on that until we have that information.
Health authorities in China have started to fast-track the construction of new quarantine centers as more COVID-19 cases re-emerge. The centers being set up in the Hebei and Jilin provinces are meant to accommodate close contacts of those diagnosed with the virus. The National Health Commission reported that Hebei recorded 19 new COVID-19 cases, while Jilin registered 12. Currently, China has 1,800 active COVID-19 infections, of which 94 are said to be in a serious condition.
As of Jan 22, the city of Suiha had designated 134 quarantine centers, with 126 already put into operation. There are 7,473 rooms in these centers, and a total of 6,684 people are under centralized quarantine. The work of quarantine management and control is going on in a smooth and orderly manner.
Meanwhile, Hong Kong authorities have said that a temporary lockdown in one part of the city would be eased following mandatory testing for COVID-19 among the residents. Officials said an area with 16 buildings in the Yau Sim Mong district would be locked down until all residents were tested. However, those with negative results would be able to leave from Sunday evening.
Many people have done the test today. We have given consideration to the present situation that most of the people have taken the test. So after 6 p.m. today, we'll allow those with wristbands who have taken the test, as long as the result is negative, to enter and exit the area at designated entrances.
If there is such a need, obviously we do not rule out any future operations like this. But we would also like to say that currently the issuance of the compulsory testing notice is also an effective method in identifying the cases.
Staying in China, 11 of 21 miners who were trapped underground for 2 weeks have been rescued. Rescue workers pulled the first group of miners from hundreds of meters underground as the race to locate the remaining 10 intensifies. Specialist teams have been battling difficult conditions since an explosion at the Hushan mine in Shandong province trapped the miners surrounded by rising waters on January 10th. The explosion occurred in a ventilator shaft, causing a blockage that damaged their cable car.
The rescuers checked the miners to see if they had any injuries and covered their eyes for protection. Generally speaking, the rescue operation proceeded faster than expected. After lifting of the trapped miners who have been discovered, we will go on with the search for the other missing miners.
On that note, we've come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For TeleSUR English, I am Doris Polo. Thanks so much for watching.